Ichigo Kurosaki's journey begins with a heavy burden. After witnessing the death of his mother, Ichigo is driven by an overwhelming need to protect everyone he cares about. Yet this self-imposed duty to shoulder the weight of others becomes an unsustainable path, especially as each arc of Bleach reveals a new, challenging part of his complex heritage: Shinigami, Hollow, Quincy, as well as his human nature. As Ichigo's story unfolds, he learns that true heroism isn't about carrying every burden at the expense of one's own well-being. Instead, it's his journey towards harmony, embracing all parts of himself and healing from within that allows him to protect others without losing himself. In this video, we'll explore how each arc pushes Ichigo to confront the limits of his savior complex and shows us that self-harmony is essential for sustaining true heroism. If you're ready to dive into the inner journey of Ichigo Kurosaki, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and join us in this in-depth exploration of Bleach. As we examine Ichigo through this video, we'll focus on three key aspects. 1. The actual events of each arc. 2. The philosophical concepts that Ichigo confronts or grapples with during each arc. And finally, how Ichigo's journey in each arc contributes to his inner growth and increasing sense of harmony. We'll be focusing in on the Agent of the Shinigami and Soul Society arc, the Wakamundo arc, as well as the Thousand Year Blood War arc. I've excluded the Fullbringer arc because while it plays a key role in Ichigo's emotional development, it doesn't focus on the deeper philosophical exploration of his identity that we see in the Soul Society, Wakamundo, and Thousand Year Blood War arcs. In those arcs, Ichigo grapples with the complexities of his hybrid nature, leading to a more profound sense of inner harmony. The Fullbringer arc, on the other hand, addresses more immediate emotional challenges without shifting his fundamental understanding of himself. Initially, Ichigo's decision to take on Rukia's powers is impulsive and driven by his immediate need to protect his family. However, as he begins to face various hollows and threats, he quickly learns that the role of a Shinigami is not as simple as fighting to protect. His early battles with hollows reveal that his motivations are still largely fueled by personal guilt over his mother's death. Ichigo believes that if he gains enough power, he can save everyone, a belief that reflects his immature understanding of heroism. One of the defining moments in this arc is his confrontation with Grand Fisher, the hollow responsible for his mother's death. Driven by a need for revenge, Ichigo tries to defeat Grand Fisher, only to realize that raw power alone is insufficient. Even though he manages to drive Grand Fisher away, he is left with a sense of incompleteness, realizing that vengeance doesn't bring closure. This moment lays the foundation for Ichigo's journey towards understanding that true heroism goes beyond sheer strength and requires a deeper sense of responsibility. In this arc, Ichigo exhibits what psychologists describe as a savior complex, a desire to fix everything around him, rooted in his unresolved guilt. Psychiatrist Carl Jones' concept of the wounded healer aligns with Ichigo's development, suggesting that those who are most driven to help others often do so to heal their own internal wounds. For Ichigo, this is his unresolved trauma from his mother's death, which fuels his belief that he can protect everyone if he is strong enough. The Agent of the Shinigami arc also hints at the limitations of a savior complex. Although Ichigo wants to save everyone, his approach is unsustainable, as it leaves him carrying burdens he's not ready for. His strength alone cannot be the foundation for protecting others. He needs a sense of inner peace and emotional stability. By the end of the Agent of the Shinigami arc, Ichigo begins to open up to the idea that shouldering every burden is unrealistic. His desire to protect, while noble, is hindered by his unresolved guilt and immaturity. This initial stage of his journey reveals that heroism is not merely about defeating enemies, but understanding the weight of the responsibility that comes with power. His realization that he cannot protect everyone with strength alone sets him on the path towards a more balanced view of himself. The Soul Society arc takes Ichigo's journey a step further as he enters the Soul Society to save Rukia. During this phase of his life, he faces many powerful enemies, learning something new from each confrontation. Ichigo eventually faces Kenpachi Zaraki, a captain who embodies brute strength and revels in combat purely for its thrills. In this intense battle, Ichigo learns that rushing in headfirst without a true connection to himself or his Zanpakuto leaves him vulnerable. Kenpachi's chaotic and relentless approach to strength highlights Ichigo's need for a deeper understanding of his own power, showing that brute force alone isn't enough. True strength requires alignment with his inner self and his weapon. However, it's Ichigo's battle with Byakuya Kuchiki that becomes the defining moment in this arc. By attaining Bankai, Tensa Zangetsu, Ichigo achieves a new level of power, but this power is not simply a tool for destruction. While Kisuke's invention drew Zangetsu out into the physical realm, the method one still needs to reach Bankai requires him to delve into his inner self and confront Zangetsu, symbolizing a connection to his powers that goes beyond superficial strength. Bankai represents the culmination of his growth in this arc, a power that is tempered with understanding and control, marking his first true step towards balanced heroism. The Soul Society arc hones in on the concept of a wounded healer. As he faces powerful opponents, he realizes that his role as a protector requires him to be grounded, not reactive. The stakes of rescuing Rukia push him beyond personal motivations, showing him that true responsibility includes both control and purpose. His desire to save Rukia is not just about being a hero, it's about taking responsibility for someone else's fate. This responsibility tempers his savior complex, giving him a more grounded sense of purpose. By the end of the Soul Society arc, Ichigo begins to mature in his views. He no longer seeks strength for strength's sake alone. Instead, he understands that power without purpose is hollow. His victory over Byakuya solidifies this lesson, showing him that true heroism is about control and intent rather than raw might. This arc marks the end of his initial journey with Shinigami powers, setting him on a path towards a more integrated view of himself and his role as a protector. This fight with Byakuya doesn't end with a clean victory for Ichigo, though. Instead, it reveals a deeper, unsettling truth about himself. His inner hollow surfaces, hinting at the unstable nature of his spirit. This inner chaos underscores that Ichigo's power is still raw and untamed, a double-edged sword that poses as much as a threat to him as it does his enemies. This moment foreshadows a harsh reality. If Ichigo can't control the turmoil within himself, he won't be able to protect those he cares about. As he faces new enemies in the Arrancar arc, this vulnerability looms over him, reminding us that without self-mastery, his desire to save others may remain just out of reach. Now that we've explored this arc, let's move on to the Arrancar arc, where Kupo deepens Ichigo's inner turmoil. Through new challenges and even stronger enemies, Kupo brings Ichigo's struggle to the forefront, forcing him to confront the instability within and the price of failing to master it. In this arc, Ichigo's journey takes a darker turn as he confronts his hollow side, which represents his fear, anger, and primal instincts. This hollow side initially emerges as a chaotic force that threatens to take over Ichigo, forcing him to seek out the Vizards for training. Through intense sessions, Ichigo learns to harness his hollow powers, realizing that his darker aspects of himself are inseparable from his identity. Since the Arrancar arc is so long and you've made it this far, I'm going to assume that you know most of the story of Bleach. So instead of outlining the entirety of this arc, for the sake of time, I'm going to highlight larger moments and fights that I find crucial to the story overall. One of the defining battles in this arc is against Grimmjow's Jagerjack, a brutal opponent who mirrors Ichigo's own aggression and drive for combat. Each encounter with Grimmjow forces Ichigo to tap into his hollow side, revealing the dangers of using his power without balance. These battles serve as a step in Ichigo's acceptance of his hollow side, showing him that his dark side, while powerful, requires restraint and understanding. His confrontation with Ulquiorra takes the conflict to an extreme. Unlike Grimmjow, who pushes Ichigo's aggression, Ulquiorra represents cold detachment and overwhelming power. A key thing to note in this battle occurs when Ulquiorra coldly states, "Without that mask, you are nothing." This line underscores the central theme of integration. If Ichigo cannot unify all parts of himself, he will remain incomplete. The mask serves as a metaphor for his journey towards self-harmony. Without it, he lacks the balance and strength required to protect others. Another critical moment comes when Ichigo cracks Ulquiorra's sword after donning his hollow mask. This act illustrates that while Ichigo's integration is imperfect, he has grown stronger. It's a reminder that this isn't about perfection, but evolution. Ichigo's increasing strength and understanding reflect his journey towards becoming a better hero. Ultimately, Ichigo is defeated and even killed in one of his battles with Ulquiorra, only to be resurrected through his intense desire to protect Orihime. This triggers his transformation into his Vastolordes form. In this monstrous form, Ichigo loses all control, symbolizing the dangers of losing himself to his protective instincts. This transformation is more than just a power-up, it's a complete loss of self. In this form, Ichigo embodies his raw, unfiltered hollow instincts, driven by a single-minded focus to protect. This primal urge strips away all traces of his humanity and self-control, turning him into a vessel of destruction. His actions in this form, devoid of conscious intent, symbolize the dangers of a savior complex taken to the extreme. By letting his need to protect Orihime consume him, Ichigo sacrifices his humanity, becoming a weapon of devastating consequences. The scene highlights that without balance, his desire to protect can lead to catastrophic outcomes for himself and those around him. As the Arrancar arc concludes, Ichigo's journey to integration reaches its culmination in his final confrontation with Aizen. After enduring countless battles and gaining a better understanding of his inner darkness, Ichigo is forced to take one final step in his journey towards unity. To face Aizen, a near godlike enemy whose powers and ambition threaten to destroy everything Ichigo values, he must unlock a new level of strength, one that requires complete integration of his Shinigami and hollow aspects. Aizen's dialogue during this climactic confrontation provides a meta-reflection on Ichigo's growth throughout the series. Aizen outlines how every challenge, from Rukia entering his life to his battles against the Arrancar, have systematically prepared Ichigo for this moment. However, Aizen's perspective highlights a significant contrast between the two characters. While Aizen views his own progression as a rejection of all ties and connections, Ichigo's strength emerges from his acceptance of the many facets of his identity. This distinction encapsulates their philosophical divide. Aizen has abandoned humanity, Shinigami, and Hollows alike, seeing them as inferior to his quest for godhood. Ichigo, by contrast, finds transcendence not through rejection, but through total integration. In the Bankai, Isshin emphasizes that Ichigo can no longer rely on brute force to gain power. Instead, he must truly become one with Zangetsu. This advice underscores Ichigo's need to embrace all aspects of himself. This process culminates in the final Getsuga Tensho, a transformation that symbolizes complete unity within Ichigo. By becoming Zangetsu, Ichigo achieves a balance of light and dark. This harmony allows him to transcend Aizen, whose rejection of self leaves him hollow despite his immense power. The Arrancar arc, specifically Ichigo's confrontations with Grimmjow, Ukiura, and Aizen, embody Carl Jung's concept of the shadow. The shadow represents the darker aspects of oneself that are often suppressed or denied, but must be integrated for true personal growth. Ichigo's hollow side is his shadow, manifesting all his fear, aggression, and raw destructive potential. His battles with Grimmjow reflect the allure and danger of embracing aggression without control. Each encounter with Grimmjow serves as a step towards acknowledging his dark side, forcing Ichigo to confront his inner conflict. The confrontation with Ukiura intensifies the struggle. Ukiura's cold, detached nature contrasts sharply with Ichigo's passionate resolve to protect, illustrating the consequences of letting the shadow completely consume the self. The Vasilore form is the ultimate expression of the shadow unleashed, a loss of humanity that exposes the dangers of giving into one's darker instincts without restraint. This battle serves as a powerful metaphor for the dangers of the savior complex and the necessity of understanding rather than surrendering to one's inner darkness. Finally, the battle with Aizen and the attainment of the final Getsuga Tensho represent Jungian individuation, the process by which a person integrates all aspects of their personality to achieve a cohesive self. In this transformation, Ichigo does not reject his hollow side, but accepts it as an integral part of his identity. The fusion of Zangetsu and White symbolizes his acceptance of both light and dark, Shinigami and Hollow. By embracing these dual aspects, Ichigo reaches a state of wholeness, allowing him to wield his power with control and purpose. This final transformation marks a crucial breakthrough in Ichigo's journey. By accepting the fused versions of Zangetsu and White, Ichigo achieves a state of inner harmony, understanding that both his Shinigami and Hollow aspects are essential components of his true self. This realization prepares him for the next stage of his journey in the 1,000-Year Blood War arc, where the concept of harmony will be tested even further as he discovers his Quincy heritage. I know I said I wouldn't speak about the Fullbringer arc, but I think there's an important point to make. When Ichigo sacrifices his abilities to use Mugetsu, it is both an act of selflessness and a testament to his acceptance of his role as a protector. Yet this loss foreshadows the struggle he faces in the Fullbringer arc. Without his Shinigami and Hollow powers, Ichigo becomes emotionally and physically unbalanced, as if pieces of himself have been stripped away. His body even reacts to this loss, showing the toll of being disconnected from integral parts of his being. However, Ichigo's ultimate realization in this arc is that those parts of himself could be regained and were never truly gone. They remained a part of him, just as his loved ones never left his side. This further reinforces the theme that wholeness comes from within and that his journey is not about regaining powers, but about reconnecting with himself. The 1,000-Year Blood War arc serves as the final phase in Ichigo's journey, where he must reconcile his complex heritage and understand what it means to be the perfect hybrid. During this arc, Ichigo discovers the depth of his Quincy lineage, learning that his mother's bloodline is directly connected to Yhwach, the progenitor of the Quincy. This revelation occurs during his training with the Zero Division, and shakes Ichigo's understanding of himself. Up to this point, he has struggled to reconcile his Shinigami and Hollow sides, but this new layer of his identity presents an even greater challenge. He must now find a way to integrate not only his Shinigami and Hollow aspects, but also his Quincy heritage. Early in the arc, Ichigo is captured by Sternritter J, the jail. Trapped and seemingly powerless, he subconsciously draws on the prison's properties and reishi to escape. This moment foreshadows his latent Quincy abilities and his potential for tapping into these powers without even realizing it. Following this, Ichigo faces Yhwach for the first time. It is revealed to the audience that Ichigo has begun to subconsciously use Blutvein, the Quincy defensive technique, as he instinctively shields himself from Yhwach's overwhelming attacks. However, when Ichigo attempts to strike Yhwach, Haschwalth intervenes, shadowing his Zanpakuto. This moment symbolizes the insufficiency of Ichigo's Shinigami and hollow powers alone to face the threat of Yhwach. It serves as a pivotal turning point, forcing Ichigo to confront the limitations of his current state. Ichigo's subsequent training with the Zero Division becomes a transformative experience, allowing him to delve deeper into his lineage. During this training, he reforges his Zanpakuto and emerges with 2 swords, each representing different aspects of his soul. These swords symbolize the duality within Ichigo, reflecting his journey towards balance and integration. Rather than rejecting the disparate parts of his identity, Ichigo accepts them as interconnected facets of his being. A notable moment in this arc is when Ichigo learns the truth about Zangetsu. Despite discovering that the manifestation of Zangetsu is tied to his Quincy powers rather than his Shinigami heritage, Ichigo declares that he still believes that the old man was Zangetsu. This moment signifies his acceptance of all facets of himself, even those that seem deceptive or contradictory. For Ichigo, every part of his identity, regardless of its origin, has a place within his singular existence. On their second confrontation, Ichigo fights Yhwach using his 2 reforged blades in tandem. While this demonstrates his incredible strength and his ability to wield both sides of his soul effectively, it also signifies that these aspects of his identity remain distinct. Even as Ichigo grows stronger, there is a subtle tension in this duality, as the 2 sides of his power have not yet merged into a fully unified force. The breakthrough comes later in the final battle against Yhwach, when Ichigo combines the 2 swords into one, creating a single blade that embodies the true harmony of his Shinigami, Hollow, and Quincy powers. This act of merging the swords is a profound moment in Ichigo's journey, signifying his complete integration and acceptance of all aspects of his soul. No longer are these elements in conflict or unbalanced, they are now one, a seamless and singular representation of his identity. This fusion allows Ichigo to wield his power with unprecedented harmony, making him a true hybrid and enabling him to confront Yhwach with his full potential. His battle with Yhwach represents not only a physical conflict, but an existential struggle for self-actualization. The In Your Blood War arc emphasizes the concept of radical acceptance, the idea of embracing all aspects of oneself, even those that may be uncomfortable or challenging. For Ichigo, this means fully accepting his Quincy heritage, a part of himself that he had been unaware of and that represents a side of his family history that he is reluctant to claim. Radical acceptance is a term used in psychological healing, where individuals are encouraged to accept their circumstances and identity without resistance. In Ichigo's case, radical acceptance becomes a necessity, as his path to true strength depends on acknowledging every part of his lineage. Moreover, Ichigo's journey towards inner harmony speaks to the theme of intergenerational legacy. By accepting his Shinigami and Quincy heritage, he embraces the complex legacy left by his parents, Masaki and Nisshin. His mother's Quincy bloodline, merged with the Hollow White, and his father's Shinigami background have always been part of his identity, but only now does he understand and accept the weight of this legacy. By doing so, he honors both sides of his family, showing that legacy is not just inherited power, but a personal responsibility to understand and reconcile one's origins. In defeating Yhwach, Ichigo not only saves the world, but demonstrates the true meaning of heroism. By accepting his full, complex identity and merging it into a singular, harmonious force, he gains the strength necessary to protect others without being torn by his internal conflict. This ultimate form of integration allows him to become a protector in the deepest sense, someone who can safeguard those he loves without sacrificing his own stability and well-being. The 1000-Year Blood War arc underscores that heroism is not about choosing power or strength alone. It's about finding balance and embracing all parts of oneself. By the end of the 1000-Year Blood War arc, Ichigo embodies a profound sense of inner peace and resilience. His journey teaches us that only by accepting all aspects of oneself can a person truly fulfill their potential. Bleach tells the story of a hero that goes beyond power and self-discovery. Ichigo's journey is about understanding that true heroism starts with healing, integration, and inner harmony. His path reveals that just wanting to save others without addressing inner struggles leads to imbalances and exhaustion. Each arc in Bleach forces him to see that only by nurturing his own well-being can he truly protect others. In the end, Ichigo's story offers a profound message that a hero must be whole, grounded, and resilient to support others effectively. His journey is a reminder that prioritizing oneself is not selfish, it's the foundation of true strength. If you've connected with Ichigo's journey, please share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more in-depth analyses. Thank you for joining us in exploring Ichigo's path to true heroism. See you in the next video.